practice session in. So
yeah. And do you want me to like if I just sort of tell you when I'd be directing people to work in groups or whatever else? Yeah.
And I can actually answer as if I were an audience. I have been an audience of 30 people before. So whatever you'd like me to, if you want to pose a question, sometimes what happens is people practice this and they time themselves. And then when they actually ask questions to the group, they don't realize it does take time for people to answer. Yeah. So sometimes it is nice. I mean, I can be 5 different coaches if you want me to be. I'd be happy to answer whatever you want me to answer. If you tell me to get into a group, I can pretend to do that, whatever works for you.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll go with it and follow my lead, I guess, is probably the best way to do it.
Absolutely.
Cool. I haven't unfortunately been able to take a look at many of the other ones, which is I ideally would have looked through more of them to start with, but we'll just go with this. So yeah.
Yeah, whatever you want to do. So I'll just set my timer for 10 minutes, just so you know. But if you hear a bell go off, you don't have to like stop mid-sentence. Just keep rolling, finish your thoughts. And 10 minutes usually goes faster than people assume. So.
Okay. Cool.
But anyways, people have found this valuable. A lot of people that did not want to do this said, that was really helpful, just so I can see exactly how far I can get in 10 minutes and what I can get through.
I know. Actually, I'm just a little disclaimer. I'm quite nervous. I'm used to doing quite a few presentations and things, but it's just the different sort of mode of doing it is sort of yeah. But anyway, we'll give it a go. That's the other reason we do a practice too, because the final one you'll have more than just me on here. Like I'll probably invite like some of the New York chapter to kind of see you. And it's a little nerve-wracking, so it's nice to get it out of the way the first time and like, okay, now I got it. Now I know what I'm doing. So yeah, deep breaths, mistake rituals. It's a bit of acting and a bit of all that stuff all worked in. Get those nerves. This is where the life lessons in athletics comes in. Yeah, exactly. So whenever you're ready, I'm here. Okay, great. So yeah, just picking up from where we would have been in the workshop. So we've talked about the importance of connecting with participants and the tool around using the emotional tank as a method to do that. So the second principle under PCA's coaching model centers around the ELM tree of mastery, and this principle focuses on effort, learning, and that mistakes are okay in order for athletes to gain mastery of their performance. With the idea that with a mastery and a confidence and a competence in those things, that the result will then often, hopefully lead to scoreboard success as well, but without that being the focus of the tool. So around improving performance. So on to the next slide. Before we watch this video, this is a video that's been recorded of Carol Dweck, who is a member of PCA's advisory board. Carol Dweck's also a psychology professor at Stanford University and has worked at many other top universities in the US. But a little side note from my personal experience, I first was introduced to Carol Dweck and this theory working with international schools in Asia. And her philosophies around fixed and growth mindset, or mindset in general, are quite widely taught and used by teachers in elementary and middle and high school settings. So I was really interested to see these theories coming back in and sort of being used in a sport context as well, which is really great. So yeah, very world-renowned expert, Carol Dweck. So we'll watch this video and then we'll have a little bit of discussion about it. All right. Do you want me to play it, or do you want to just continue? Actually, if you could play it, that'd be good. It'd be no problem. Yeah.
We did a study of college athletes looking at whether they believed their coaches valued effort and practice or natural talent and outcomes. The more they believed their coaches valued effort and practice, the better they did that year and the more they improved. It is crucial for coaches to send that message. I value practice, I value effort, I value setting your goals in terms of practice and effort. Many coaches may think it's obvious. Effort and practice lead to greater skills and a winning record. But if they don't communicate that value to players, those players may be working in a completely different framework.
Great. Okay, some sage advice there from Carol Dweck. What I would like you to do now is to just turn to the person next to you, and just if you could summarize the key takeaways that you got from that clip. What were the key messages that Carol Dweck was talking about? So that'll be talking then. Now, so I'll give them say 30 seconds to do that, and then getting the attention back. Is there anybody who would like to share something that either their thoughts or something that their partner might have said that has resonated with them from watching that clip?
Yes,
I would. Hold on, let me see. I think I can pull myself up here.
There you go. Can you see me?
Yep.
All right, I got all my roles. What was most impactful for me was the fact that as a coach, I thought it was obvious that I value practice and effort, and I was shocked when I thought, I don't really make it intentional. I don't know if my players would say that about me, that that's what I specifically value. And also setting goals in terms of practice and effort. I set goals, but I don't know if I set them specifically in terms of practice and effort.
Mm-hmm. And are you setting the goals as a coach, or is it a collaborative process with the athletes as well? Or
it's definitely collaborative, but I help guide them to their goals. And I think a lot of my goals I do are based on their outcomes. You know, how many goals they want to score, how many defenders they want to stop. Not necessarily in terms of practice and effort goals.
Yeah, and I think that's important as a coach as well, particularly in a team sport environment, because potentially you would have the greatest success of the team as a focus, as opposed to the individual athlete who might be thinking more about their own individual performance. And having the coach's feedback on how that impacts on the rest of the team, I think, is a valuable contribution that a coach can make. Great. And again, I'd ask for a couple more examples depending on time. So the two key hopefully the two key focuses that we want to get out of that clip will have come up from the coaches. The first one being that the valuing of effort over talent, and the second one being that athletes don't always understand or always know that their coaches value those things. So trying to make it a key point of your coaching practice. Cool. Okay. So back to the slide. Sorry.
Yeah. If you click on that little box, you'll be able to make it bigger so you can see it. If you just put your cursor over the box, it'll make it bigger on the screen.
Great. Okay. Fantastic. So a few key points there from Carol Dweck. So how do we translate those points that Carol Dweck mentioned into being a meaningful experience to the athlete? What can we do as coaches to help athletes believe that they can get better? At this time, I'd like you to turn to the person on the other side of you and discuss that question with them. If you can get specific with your sports, I'm just assuming this is a multi-sport group, but also if it's a single sport group, then that could also give some good answers. But yeah, turn to a different person, discuss that question, and then again, we'll go for feedback after that.
Okay. Chat.
Cool. Feedback, then onto the, so they'd be chatting, and then hopefully they would bring some tips to the, some points back. And then if you click on the slide again, so, okay, 3 key points. I'd address these, as they came up with the feedback, I'd address these individually, but assuming maybe no one brought them up, I'd talk to them. So the first one being that they need to know, and the quickest way to let them know is to tell them. So making sure that you are vocal in your valuing of their effort, whether it's effort in a sport specific sense, or whether it's an effort in terms of them, getting over a bad day at school, or turning up on time consistently, or whatever it might be, valuing that effort and praising them for it. To do that, of course, you need to be able to notice the effort. So making a key point of your own awareness on what your team is doing and what they are bringing to practices or to games, and then attributing success to effort. So being conscious in your feedback that it's quite sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. It's
That's
quite
right.
clear that you are attributing that success to the effort that they have put in, whether it's that they have been practicing a specific move for practice after practice and you've noticed an improvement in that, or whether it's that they're turning up to practice every week and they're putting in, you know, maximum energy and their fitness has increased, or whatever it might be. Focusing on the fact that it is through their effort that they've done. It's not just a natural, you know, God-given ability, for example. Okay, on to the next slide. So the ELM tree of mastery, looking at the definition of winning and the comparison between the scoreboard definition and the mastery definition. So with a scoreboard definition, we're focused on results. It's the end result. You know, did you win? Did you lose? By how much? As opposed to the mastery definition, which focuses on the effort. So scoreboard is not irrelevant completely, but effort is the focus. So the team may not win, but they may have improved. For example, in my sport of gymnastics, it may best score or close to their personal best score, as opposed to winning a competition. Gymnastics is quite possibly unique in that sense, in that you are always, in a way, competing against yourself, because you're judged subjectively by a panel of judges. You have absolutely no control over it, and although we try not to have bias in judging, and there are a whole heap of formulas and things that scores are worked out with, it is subjective, and you definitely can't control it. So focusing on the things that you can control is really the only way to measure your success in some results, in some instances. The next part, again, comparison with others versus learning. So the scoreboard definition, again, looks at, you know, did you beat another person? Did you get to score more goals against them? Did you get a higher score than them? Whatever it might be in your sport, versus the mastery definition that focuses on learning and being able to take from the experience a key point that you can work on in order to improve for the next time that you're in that position, or, you know, playing the game or doing the sport, whatever it might be. And then the final one is that mistakes are okay in a mastery definition versus the scoreboard definition where mistakes are not okay. Again, focusing on a scoreboard, you make a mistake, potentially it means you don't get as many points as you may otherwise have got. So that affects your final score and the end result. Mistakes being okay in a mastery definition is that it's, again, goes back to the other two, that mistakes are a valuable opportunity for learning and then for improvement from there for the next time that you are looking to compete.
Mm-hmm. That was actually 10 minutes already.
Oh, was it? Oh,
yeah. Yeah, that's all right. That you got through a lot. You got through a lot. You did fine.
Rushing.
I know it goes fast. It goes very fast. Hold on, let me get off of here. Hold on one second. Okay. How did you feel doing that?
Quite nervous. I kind of, like I was saying before.
Hold on, sorry. I'm trying to hang up my phone. I don't know why I'm sorry. Let me check myself. There you go. Sorry about that.
Yeah, quite nervous. I'm used to standing up, moving around, and going over to talk to people when I'm asking them for their answers or whatever it might be. And so sort of sitting here and not being able to sort of change up where I am in the room or whatever else, it's kind of like, you just, you know, that's it. So
it's usually also easier if there's more than just me on here. You know, that's helpful too. One of the things that we found is that if you can get sort of the verbiage down and the way that you will say things, like the one point you said, I'm kind of getting tripped up on words, like that's one of the reasons we practice too, so that you get the words and they start flowing. And then if you can handle this environment, then when you do get in front of live people, you're like, oh, I got this. Like now it's easier because I'm actually in front of people that are responding and I'm feeling the room, you're feeling the energy in the room, that type of a thing. Mm-hmm. So I thought you did really well. I mean, for being in an awkward situation, I thought you did extremely well, especially after you've been out of the country for 10 days. I was impressed by that. I just really like your tone. I think you have a very comfortable presence about you. You sound like you know what you're talking about, but you don't come across in any way arrogant or as like the expert and I know more than you do. So I think that's something that's really going to help you connect to the audience very, very well. That a lot. I loved the point that you put in about Carol Dweck and how, you know, you learned about her in a school setting, not necessarily with sports. And that's one of the things I love about her research, that it just translates in every different area. It's not just about sports, but she has devoted a lot of her time recently over the last, 10 to 15 years to the sports environment. And she's actually being hired by, the American in baseball, professional baseball teams in recruiting. And she's being tapped into a lot by a lot of very heavy-handed professionals that are saying, wait a minute, why are these play for us not playing at their best? They're playing professional. And she's actually helping them work through it and realizing how to get them motivated. So I thought it was a great little twist.
It's huge. Like all of the schools that we work with they were all over Carol Dweck research and methodology. So yeah,
it is. She's amazing. And I don't know. I mean, you obviously did you get to hear her speak directly?
No, not directly, not in person, but yeah.
I read her books before I actually got to see her and meet her in person, and she's all of about 4'11". Like she's the teeny tiniest, most frail little woman.
Yeah.
And her research is just gigantic. The things that she does are huge. And she's this little teeny tiny, soft-spoken woman and very slow speaker, and she's funny. She's very, very humble, very humble. It was pretty amazing. So I really like that. I like, anytime you can turn and talk, discuss this, think about it. You did that twice right in a row, and I thought it was great. Turn to one person, turn to the other person. I think when you said, how do athletes believe they can get better? Be specific to your sport. I think it's also important to be specific to what you would do. Because a lot of times when I put this question out to coaches, they'll say, well, I'll just cheer for them. When do you cheer for them? Because a lot of coaches think that positive coaching means cheering for your athletes. But the key is, when are you cheering? Because I watch a lot of coaches. I get to do a lot of observations of coaches, and they cheer when the kids do well. When the kids score a goal or do their personal best, and that's such outcome reinforcement. And so I usually bring up that point, like, how do you athletes believe they can get better? It's not just cheering the successes, and that's kind of a key to that point about being a noticer. What are you noticing? Are you noticing just the effort? Or are you noticing the outcome? I see more coaches that even when kids are just doing shooting drills in soccer, lacrosse, hockey, whatever it is, I've actually watched coaches just cheer for the kids that make it in the goal.
Right.
Okay, next one. Oh, good job, good goal. Okay, next one. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at what you're doing. Yeah. And it's just until they realize what they're doing, they're actually reinforcing that the outcome is more important. So that's always a little key I put in there. Mm-hmm. I thought you did a nice job with the chart, the scoreboard versus mastery. I think some of that too, you can pull some of the things out of the audience because it's the success. How do you define success? And you did a nice job at going through it. The one thing that you said was, it's not that the scoreboard's irrelevant. We just want you to focus on effort. I think the whole society as a whole is so focused on the scoreboard that I like to hit it home a little bit harder, that the scoreboard is a tool. The scoreboard is definitely important, And I like to say too sometimes, would you go out and play a game at the level that you're coaching if there were no scoreboard? Would you go out into a gymnastics competition if they said you're not being scored? How well would you be motivated to play if the scoreboard was not a factor? Oh, well, if you're all about positive coaching and effort, why keep score? You're probably the ones that told the younger youth leagues to not keep score. And we say absolutely not. The scoreboard is important. But what leads up to the scoreboard and what is the formula to get success on the scoreboard is really the key. So I just wanted to point that out, because when you said that, like, not that the scoreboard isn't relevant, it's actually not irrelevant at all. It is very important. It's a measure of success. However, of the game, what the scoreboard says does not determine how the whole game was played. And you can't skip out on all those other 90 minutes of performance just because of what the scoreboard says at the end. Liked the gymnastics example. I think that's really great to hear, especially if you're doing a workshop for sports that are not, individually scored. I think it's a great component to bring up, because in a sport like gymnastics, as you said, it is subjective. You have absolutely no control over the score. And most of us that have played team sports, we feel like we've got all this control over the score, but really we don't either. I mean, there's so many other factors that work in. So I thought that was really interesting to bring up. And the fact that you're measuring against yourself, that's a great example in gymnastics. But I think also if you're really focusing on mastery, then it's the exact same whether you're doing gymnastics or track or football or basketball or baseball. You are every day, if you can measure your success against yourself. So I think that was a good point, but I wouldn't say it like separately than other sports. I would say it, the things that I learned in gymnastics can apply, that is mastery. That's the perfect example of mastery right there.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, I mentioned it before, one of the challenges that I've had is, like, I find it really interesting listening to all these team sport examples, but then going back to gymnastics, I'm sort of going, oh, how do I put this? And with the presentation, I only use gymnastic stuff, but I had initially intended to try and add in some other team sport things, but I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm the expert, or if I'm credible enough to be talking about these sports that I don't have as much experience in. But hopefully over time, that's something I want to try and work on and to include into.
Yeah. And you absolutely are credible. And I say all the time, we are the experts in the Positive Coaching Alliance principles and the research behind it at that workshop. So you don't have to be an all-star soccer player to be able to deliver this message to soccer coaches. You don't lose credibility because you didn't play soccer or you didn't coach soccer. Because I do tons of workshops in sports that I've never played and I've never coached, but I'm still the expert in the room on this topic. What I need the coaches' help with is bringing out sport examples. The examples in all the sports that I've played and the ones that I'm an expert in. But I can't walk into a group of football coaches and start calling out plays where I can make up effort goals for football. I just can't do it. And I never pretend to know that. I never pretend to be an expert, and I'll be the first one, obviously they know, like, I'm sorry, I have never played tackle football. So I'm going to give you a tool called Rewarding Unsuccessful Effort. And I need you to help me give examples. I know the examples in field hockey and lacrosse and basketball and volleyball, and the coaches are usually really willing, and it helps them kind of digest the principle more. When they have to go, okay, what does that look like in football? How can I reward something in football that's not, they didn't do it successfully, but they worked really hard to get there and we saw improvement. So it's really a matter of being a facilitator more than a lecturer. And I think, that's a skill we can all improve on. Yeah.
Well, I guess it also acknowledges their expertise as well. So it's going to put them in a better mindset to be taking on the information you've got to, if you're acknowledging that they are, they're the people in the room that know this sport or whatever it is,
Exactly. And a lot of times what I'll do too is I'll acknowledge that they've been doing this all along anyway. And I tell them this information that I'm sharing with you is probably not new. It's probably things that you've been doing all along. You've never called it rewarding unsuccessful effort. You've never called them effort goals. You've never called it positive charting. But do you keep track of how many kids rush back on defense? Yeah, probably in your head you do. Actually writing it down so that you can say to the players, wow, I noticed 4 times out of 5, you are the first one back on defense. That's the difference between knowing it in your head and what we call positive charting. And we've seen that when you actually keep the kids accountable for their effort, they're going to play harder next time because they're being noticed and they're being praised and they're attributing the success to the effort of hustling back on defense. It's just one of those things. Actually, somebody this week in one of the workshop demonstrations said, if you're watching a sport, like a team sport, and you're, as a coach, always keeping your eye on the ball and where the play is happening, you're missing all the effort that's happening. Look 20 yards behind the ball. Look 20 yards in front of the ball. Look at the players that are not in on the immediate action. You're actually looking at the effort, not just the outcome. And I thought that was a really good analogy to think about that, because we follow the ball, we follow the action, we follow who's scoring and who's passing, and we forget about all the play that's going on around it.
Yeah, sure.
I thought that was really good. But Marcus, I'm really encouraged. I think you did a great job. You were very successful. And I think when you have a full 20 minutes and you have a live audience in front of you, you'll do even better.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, how close do you live to like Manhattan?
I'm in the East Village, so.
Oh, you are? Okay.
In Manhattan, yeah.
Okay, because I was talking to Daryl Johnson, who's the CED, who's the chapter executive director there, and he said he would love to get anybody that's going through the course to come in and do it live, like for a little mini live audience, just so he can get to know you and so that you would actually have real people there. So I think he's the only person in the course from New York right now. But what?
Yeah, I remember speaking to Ripper a while ago about it, and I was going to try and work out a time that I could catch up with Daryl and go, because he's quite new as well, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. So that'd be great. I've got his email address, so I'll send him an email and see if there's anything happening in the area that I can make it along to.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, because once you become an associate trainer, we'll send you out to real workshops. But sometimes it's nice before you get in front of a live audience to just do a rundown, a run through of people. And he can, he's got partner managers there. Emily Archibald, who is in the course as well. She's the partner manager for New York.
Oh, okay.
So I get the two of you guys together and, just half hour. Sometimes when we have like 4 or 5 trainer candidates going through the course at the same time, it's nice to get them all there at the same place, and then you can all practice with each other there. Yeah. But I believe this time there's only 2 of you, but that's okay. Still better than nothing.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time. So this week is going to be honoring the game. It's going to be a normal week with the normal hangouts and the normal questions. And then the following week is going to be a practice. You get a 20-minute session to practice, and you can choose whatever part of the workshop you want. So if you want to repeat and do this one again to see what it's like to feel the whole thing, if you want to do e-tanks or honoring the game or the introduction, is totally up to you. And the only thing that we ask that you add to it is a real quick, like 2 or 3 minute introduction of yourself. What brought you to PCA? Why are you here? Just what you would connect, how you would connect to the audience in the first couple minutes of the workshop.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay.
And that's, yep. All right. Did you have any questions for me?
No, I just wanted to say thank you very much